Good morning, everybody. Agorist Millionaire here. So I just wanted to do a quick little trading video on entry points. How do we decide where and when is a good time to enter a trade? One of the most important, uh, concepts, so to speak, would be the concept of support and resistance lines. So essentially, the price of an asset or a currency has memory, and obviously not memory in the traditional sense, but as investors, we're always looking at these charts, and perhaps it's more of a self-perpetuating thing than it is a real thing. But regardless of why it happens, it does happen. So, with that being said, what we want to do is kind of take a look at these charts, and we just want to draw some lines. So I like to grab my little ray tool here, and I draw green ones for support lines and red ones for resistance lines. All the support and resistance lines are, one, they're the same thing. All it is if the price is above said line, then that line is known as a support line. Once the price crosses through that support line, what's known as a breakdown, the support line then becomes resistance. So when the price comes back up to test that line, it's very likely, or rather more likely, that the price will reverse at that line, at that point. So what we're going to do when we're trying to figure out where to enter a trade, we're just going to start drawing some lines. So I like to pick the important low spots first. And the thing about it is, you'll notice that whenever we draw these lines, if we follow it through the rest of the chart, what you'll see is these lines become reversal spots, as I mentioned. So notice how this price comes down, dips below the support line, and then has this huge candle that brings it right back up because price has memory. The people that are buying and selling these equities understand that there's a very likely chance it'll reverse there, so it becomes an attractive buy point. Let's draw another one. Let's see. Here would be a good choice. We could put another one here. And the thing about it is you can actually just go through and put these things all over the chart. And eventually it'll get nice and cluttered, but what you'll notice is look at all these support lines I've drawn, and it just becomes resistance. When it breaks down, breaks back up, hits that line, goes back down. Test the support line again, goes back up, and then down through the support line. Test it again, and all the way back down here to the bottom. So this gives us a very valuable tool in understanding where a price might stall out and I guess you could say, the probability or the odds of a trade working out. So this is Monero. Uh, Monero currently has quite a bit of resistance. We're on a daily chart here, so each of these candles represents one whole day of trading. So when we zoom out to a larger chart, a larger time frame like this, any of the trends that we notice or anything that we pick up, they're not little trends. This is like a whole day's worth of action that culminated in this data. So we always kind of want to look at the higher time frames first before zooming into the lower time frames, because if we can draw a bunch of lines on this chart, then when we zoom in, we'll have a much better idea of where a price might turn around. So you'll notice I'm adding these resistance lines up here now, as the price is below these areas right now. And what you'll see here is Apologize, guys. What you'll see here is there is a ton of resistance in this area. So if I was considering whether or not to enter a trade in Monero, I would be sure to understand the fact that this price is going to have a hard time getting through all this resistance. And I mean, I could keep going. If we were to zoom in, let me just do it for, for y'all's sake. Zoom it into a 4-hour chart instead of the daily. We zoom it out a bit, and then you'll notice that we could draw even more of these little red resistance lines. Put one here, put another one. Yeah, it's a support line. Let's go ahead and draw it. There, and so as we kind of zoom in here and take a look at this, you'll see if we were going to enter a trade right here, probably the better call would be a short trade, honestly, because all of this resistance right here is going to be a very difficult thing for this price to break through. I do think Monero is going to break through that resistance. However, I think it's most likely going to consolidate within this little trading range. You'll notice it's been in this. Uh, hey, babies. Sorry, guys. Well, this computer's gonna die, so with that being said, guys, just keep drawing your lines where the price has reverted before, and it'll give you a much better idea of exactly, if the price is gonna break down, it's gonna bounce off of this. Price is gonna go up, it's gonna bounce off of these. So what we're trying to do is just establish where is the trading range. What is most likely to happen, and once it breaks through this little support line here. Should be good. Thanks. Let me go ahead and zoom out back to the daily chart again.
Hello.
And you'll see here we've got one final point of resistance there. So once Monero breaks through these points, it's going to be to the moon. So with all that being said, guys, I hope I've been a little bit helpful for you. As always, be sure not to invest more than you're willing to lose. You should always do your own due diligence in researching what trades to go into. Don't just take me on my word. I'm still pretty new at this. I'm no expert by any means. I make mistakes all the time. I lose money every other day. Um, so, take it with a grain of salt, but, I kind of like to say that, we're all students. If you're not a student, then you're, had a good saying an old boss of mine used to say. He said, if you're green, you grow. If you're ripe, you rot. So think about that while you're learning, because if you're not learning, and you are dooming yourself to failure. So, if you found my videos helpful, if you've made any money off of them, please go ahead and throw me a couple little pieces of Bitcoin. I got my Bitcoin address posted on all my YouTube live streams. Please follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and we'll go ahead and make a bunch of money.